Rev up your engine! Lately, I've seen so many people being ripped off by repair shops that I'm going to show you some really common rip-offs and how you can avoid them. Now, one of the most common rip-offs is telling you need struts or shocks in your car. Now, sure, they wear out over time, but they have to be pretty far gone for you to actually need new ones, and guys are always trying to sell you them. You start with a lightweight car like this Matrix. They don't weigh much, so they can last a really long time. This is an 07. Still got the original ones on. Now they do wear out, but here's how you can figure it out yourself. The strut mounts are on the top. The strut mount holds the strut together, bolts onto the frame of the car there. This rubber isn't ripped, and when we push it up and down, you can see the rubber isn't wiggling up and down. If it was broken, yeah, then you'd see the rubber move and you'd have to replace at least the mount. And here's a simple test that you can check from the bottom. You just get a jack. Now as you jack it up, if you see these falling down, it means they're broken that way. But as you can see, we're jacking it up in the air. The wheels are now off the ground, broken off and fallen in. No, they're still solid. That one and that one. And as we go to the other side, we'll check this one out. Check it out. It's bone dry too. Now, this car's so old, you can see the dust shield here has ripped and fallen off. It's coming apart. It's just a dust shield. And as you can well imagine, it really doesn't do much of anything because this one's been ripped for over 6 years and the dust hasn't got in and ruined the seal, so it's leaking, so it's not leaking. Now, the reason that I didn't put another dust shield on is this. I would have to take the entire assembly off. I would have to take the strut mount and the spring off, put a new dust shield on, put it back together again, which I am not going to do for something as stupid as a dust shield. Now, on the other hand, if I was doing a strut job, I saw this is ripped, I would buy a strut and I would buy a dust shield rubber boot that goes over the top. Now, it's not a perfect seal anyways, it just sits there, so it's not all that important, but if you're going to do the job, you might as well do it right. It doesn't need struts, so I'm not going to do it, but eventually, when they do wear out and start leaking, yeah, I'll get a new strut, and I will get a new rubber boot to keep the dust off. Now, one of the main reasons I'm showing you how to check it is because of this. A crooked mechanic can have a little bit of spray oil. He can spray oil on here and then say, oh, look, it's leaking. Well, before you go to any garage, just take a picture of the struts, right? And you see they're dry. Then if they say, look, they're leaking, and they show you they're wet, they're crooks who sprayed it on. Don't deal with them and report them to the Better Business Bureau. I've seen people do this for ages and ages. So just check it yourself. It's so easy to do. Now, this car rides fine, so I know there's nothing wrong with the struts, right? If you have a really old car and it's worn, it'll bounce up and down, then you know the struts are worn. You could push on the car, it'll bounce up and down. This doesn't bounce at all, there's nothing wrong with them, right? But today's cars, the more modern ones, they might not necessarily bounce up and down all that much, but this is what will happen when they're actually worn. Driving down the road and the steering wheel will be fine, so they ain't going 50, 60 miles an hour. But then when you hit bumps, it'll start shaking and rattling, and when you get to a smooth road, it'll smooth out again. That's a dynamic test you can do yourself, but you always do have to also make sure that your car is structurally sound, because it may not be the struts. If it does that at high speeds and starts bouncing around, it can be something in the front end. So you can always do this test. 3 and 9 o'clock, pull on it. If it wobbles, you probably got a bad tie rod. And then 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. If you pull on it, could be a ball joint or something's worn. But if it's straight like this and it's not wobbling at all, and you do start to lose control when you hit bumps on the highway, you're going to need new struts. And also look at your tires. These are evenly worn. There's the same wear the whole way across. If it's all cupped on one side or the other, that could mean that your struts are wearing out too. You notice this little dot here? Okay, that's a tire plug. I put it on over 6 years ago. Now, another item that's really oversold is brake pads and brake rotors. People tell you need a brake job. Way more than you often do. It's so simple. And for this, I'm using this cool little new air compressor I got. It's small and it's oil free, but we're going to see how it works because it does have 2 cylinders, so it can pump pretty fast. So I'll take off the jar and talk about brakes here. We'll just pull off the wheel. See how that little compressor works? So far, so good. It worked so good it didn't even have to turn itself on. That little air tank was enough to take off the wheel. I gotta say, it's a little tank, but it took off one wheel without even running itself. Guys are forever trying to sell brake jobs. If your brake pedal does not sink, if it's nice and hard, and when you're on the highway going, say, 65, 70, and you hit the brake hard, the steering wheel doesn't shake, and you look at the brake pads and they're still pretty thick, right? If they get thinner than like a dime, yeah, it's time to change them. But even then, it can still go 10,000 miles or more, but you might as well change them that. But it doesn't shake at high speeds, and when you look at the rotors, they look fine like this. They always get superficial rust, but up north, a lot of times you'll see the inside will be all rotten away from the salt on the road. If it is all rotten away, yeah, you want to change the rotors. But if they're solid and they don't shake on the highway, you don't need pads. You don't need anything. People are forever trying to sell you stuff to say, oh look, your brakes are making noise. A lot of brakes will squeal every now and then, and if you look at them and they're still thick, they're not leaking, they work fine, you can just ignore it. Now these don't squeak at all because I use those Akabono pads. I like the Akabono pads. They don't make any noise at all. But let's say your car looked like this and it squeaked and it drove you nuts. You could just replace your brake pads with the Akabono, A-K-E-B-O-N-O, the Japanese made pads, and then they won't make any noise if the noise bothers you. That's why, if you care about noise, buy quality brake pads that are quieter. Akabono ceramics are extremely quiet. They don't make any noise. Now, if you don't care about noise, you go to AutoZone, you can buy their cheapest pads. Actually, they're often harder, and they will actually last longer. The only thing is they're so hard, they make a lot of noise. A lot of people don't like noise, but if you're the type of person you don't care about noise, you turn the radio up, you can go buy the $19 pads at AutoZone. They'll work perfectly fine. It's just that they'll probably make a lot of noise that drives most people crazy. So don't be sold a load of crap because somebody's trying to make money off you. And of course, another thing related to this is, guys are always trying to sell you front end alignments. This Matrix has never had a front end alignment. It's an 07. The tires wear evenly. It goes down the highway straight. It doesn't pull one way or another. It's not something you really need all that often. Your tires are unevenly worn. This is evenly worn. They're old tires, but they still got tread left on them. If it's all worn out unevenly, yeah, you probably need an alignment. If you're driving down the road and the car pulls to one side or the other, now realize streets drain, and whatever way they drain, your car's going to go a little bit that way. Like if they drain to the right, you let go of the wheel, it'll go a little bit to the right. If it drains to the left, it'll go a little bit way to the left. But if you're going down a flat road and it pulls one way or another, you're going to need an alignment in most cases. You know, unless you got a flat tire, it's going to pull to that side, or you got a problem in the front end, and I already showed you how to check that to see if it's got play. If you have no play when you jack it up, it doesn't pull, the tires are wearing even, you do not need a front end alignment. And guys are just going to try to sell you that all the time. That's a game that mechanics play. Now I'm going to put the tire back on, but here's another reason. You want to learn how to do stuff yourself, because a lot of guys will use one of these impact wrenches to put it back on. All right, it's fine to take it off, you're just taking it off. But if you use something like that that puts out as much as 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, you can end up warping the rotor, wearing and bearing inside and everything. So, what you want to do is you want to get a torque wrench. And in this case, 77 foot-pounds or so. Then we'll carefully put the wheel back on so we don't warp anything. You line them up. And then first, you just want to put some on finger tight. Now that's on finger tight, we'll put the jack down with the emergency brake on, and we will tighten them until they click. Okay, that one's done. And you do a cross bolt pattern. One side, then cross to the other. And back over to the other side. And then down to the last one. And here's another trick. If you got nice wheels like this with these center hubs, get a little silicone clear sealer. On the little lips you can see where it sits on. Put a little clear silicone sealer on a few of these lips, because then it won't fall off later on. If you hit a big bump, they get old, they can get a little bit touchy. So when you snap them on, line them up like this. Now it's snapped in place and it won't fall off. Now I'm going to switch gears and warn you about a maintenance item that they tell you don't need anymore. And that is, well, your transmission has lifetime fluids in it. You don't need to change it ever. Now, sure, transmission oil doesn't get as dirty as engine oil, because engine oil is in the engine. It's burning gasoline, impurities get it, and you got to change it every 5,000 miles or so if you use pure synthetic oil. But transmission fluid will eventually get dirty. Dirt is friction. It will wear your transmission out. So why do they say it's a lifetime fluid? Well, they mean that the fluid is good for the lifetime of the transmission. But of course, ask them what the warranty of the transmission is. Probably 50, 60,000 miles, right? I mean, my old Celica's a 94. It's got 240,000 miles on it. It still shifts fine because I change the fluid every 30, 40,000 miles. The dealerships would just love it if your transmission went out after the warranty period was over. Then they could sell you thousands and thousands of dollars of work or a remanufactured transmission for thousands and thousands of dollars. Or say, oh yeah, just buy another car. You need another car, right? Planned obsolescence at its best. Now the old-fashioned transmissions like in this Matrix are real easy. Drain the plug, you could drop the pan and clean it if you wanted, but you could change the drain plug and then you just add the fluid and a dipstick hole. So that closes the case on how not to get ripped off by dishonest shops. Hey, they've got overhead. They've got to pay insurance. They have to mint money in order to keep themselves going and make a hefty profit. Guys are always trying them. They will probably continue ad infinitum trying to rip people off. This has 182,000 miles on it. Still the original V8 engine. Still the original transmission. He changes the fluids and filters often. But at 90,000 miles, you notice the bolt was missing. Right there on the exhaust manifold. You can see there's no bolt there. It's broken off. The other ones have bolts, but that one is broken. He's not yelling at the dealership this time. He's yelling at GMC itself, because he said the guys at the dealership were very nice. They said, okay, the bolt missing on the engine. They should certainly cover it under warranty. You paid extra. You paid like $3,000 for a special warranty. But for some reason, GMC said, take some pictures of the truck. They said that to the dealer. And what did they see? Well, he's in Massachusetts and he's got a plow hitch there. So what did they say at GMC? They said, you've been plowing, you don't have a warranty for commercial work, we're not gonna fix it. Now, really, what plowing has to do with a bolt coming off the exhaust manifold is kind of beyond me. I could see if the transmission blew up or, you know, it started burning oil, but this thing still doesn't burn oil because he changes his oil. So he didn't have any problems with that, and he's done the transmission fluid changes in the pan and the filter, so he's got no problems with that. But the bolt was missing. And they, well, no, we're not going to fix it. So, as I said, he's not mad at the dealer. He said the dealer treated him fine. So the dealer said, tell you what, we'll give you half of your warranty money back, and then he got half of his warranty money back from GMC and didn't bother fixing the missing bolt. Well, 100,000 miles later, he's still driving it and it's running okay. You know, eventually something will happen and you'd have to take it out and drill it out and tap it, put a new bolt in. But, I mean, what scumbags? Here's a guy who not only bought himself a $50,000 pickup truck back then, which is what the list price was, he paid a little bit less, but still was listed at 50 G's. Then he paid $3 for a warranty, and he didn't have the common courtesy of putting a bolt under warranty. This is why you stay the heck away from warranty. They are forever finding an excuse. I had a guy last year, his torque converter went out in his automatic transmission, wouldn't move, right? So he had this powertrain warranty for 100,000 miles. It was way less than 100,000 miles, right? So he takes it in, and they said, well, that's not covered under the powertrain warranty. That's a wearable part. All right, well, you got the engine, flywheel, the torque converter bolts on there, then it slips in the transmission. To me, it's part of the drivetrain, but they made him pay for a torque converter because they said that's not covered. Now, to me, if somebody says you got a 100,000 mile powertrain, that's part of the powertrain. There's the engine, the torque converter that converts the power to the transmission that puts it to the wheels. To me, that's powertrain, right? But not to them. So be very leery about these warranties. At least he got his money back. Now, believe it or not, he can get as much as 22.5 miles a gallon in this thing. It has a 6-speed transmission and a V8 engine. He doesn't hit it hard. He got 21.5 coming over here. Not phenomenal, but for a big truck, that's pretty good gas mileage. In his lifetime, he figures he's owned 11 Toyotas. He's got a really nice TRD Tacoma Pro that he bought a couple years ago. That's a beautiful truck, but he needs these big trucks for his business, for plowing, for pulling stuff around. Like I said, his old one with over 600,000 miles is sitting in a yard. He doesn't drive it on the street anymore, but it's sitting in his yard, not his house yard, his business yard, and he uses it for plowing snow and stuff. And it's still going strong. Now, everybody knows I'm not a big GM fan, but even though this thing was made in Mexico, not a fan of that either, right? It is GMC. I have many customers that the last Silverado they bought, maybe a decade ago or so, they said, I'll never buy another one. It was a pile of crap. Some of them gambled with GMC and they loved them. And they go out and buy another one and they get a lot of mileage out of them. Granted, eventually the transmission will break, and his other one, he had to have it rebuilt twice and 600,000 miles. This one's still going okay. We're going to scan it and check it all out. But there's something about the GMCs. They're better made than the Silverados that GM's putting out. It's just bizarre because most of the stuff is relatively the same. Now, he showed me on the undercarriage that he doesn't like their system because, as you can see, the rust starting on the frame. It's still pretty solid, but you can see it. It lasts as long as the warranty. Now that it's out of warranty, guess what? You can see it's starting to rust. And he uses these guys to coat them so they don't rust, but they won't coat them because they said this stupid wax that they put on, our stuff won't stick to it. It's like plastic crap on cars. They make them out of plastic, not because it weighs less. Oh, when you get better gas mileage. They do it because it's cheaper to make. That's all. Plastic goes in an injection mold, out it comes. Metal has to be poured, then it's taken out, then it's got to be polished and ported. Costs more money to make. They just make stuff out of plastic because it's cheaper, and they're just coating these things cheaper because after it's out of warranty, they don't care. They would rather have the frame rust out. Now, he's even got 20 miles a gallon towing their casita in the back all over the country. And unlike the Silverados, he's done basically nothing to it. He's had to change one battery and one starter. That's it. He changes the oils and filters all the time. He keeps up on the stuff because he's a business guy. He knows you don't want to destroy your equipment for one of changing some fluids. And other than the frame starting to get superficial rust on it, you can see the body's in excellent shape. Even the chrome plating on the bumper's still in good shape. 180,000 miles, you can see the seats and everything have held up quite well. Now, of course, when you go in the driver's seat, always gets a little crunch because he's a big guy like me, so we always crunch the outside of the seats. It's got a sunroof. Nice set of gauges. Charging, water temperature, gas gauge, oil pressure. Two-wheel auto, four-wheel low, four-wheel high. These are kind of fading away. They could have made it a little bit better, but you can see he's got 182,000 miles and he got 21.2 miles a gallon driving it over here on the highway. And as you can hear or not hear, it may be missing that exhaust bolt, but it doesn't have a leak. It's not making any noise. Got the scan tool plugged in. GMC Sierra 5.3 V8. And we know it's a 6-speed automatic. We'll do a diagnosis, auto scan. And while it's scanning, kind of take a look around. It's really held up quite well. Part of that's probably because he doesn't have any grandkids yet. They haven't been able to get in, destroy the seats, and chew everything up. So it's clean. It doesn't smell like there's been any dogs in there either. And here we go. There's a bunch of good stuff. And there's a few little problems. So we'll start with the transmission control module. And it's got codes for system low voltage. You're going to see a lot of this stuff as they age. As usual, we're going to erase the code. And we'll see if any of them come back after a road test. Camera module. More of these crazy fault codes. See what the trouble code is. Lost communication with electronic brake control module. Invalid data. Okay, we'll erase that too. See what the radio code is. Voltage to the control module. We'll erase that too. Now, he's had the battery replaced once. And I'm always warning people, you don't have to check engine light or anything on, but you'll often get these funky codes about low voltage. Battery gets old, you replace it. And if you don't reset the codes, the stupid things stay because these are communication codes. They're different than your engine codes. If you got a problem with your engine and your check engine light comes on, if you fix the problem, then it'll go off on its own if you actually fix the problem. These communication codes are different. You have to manually reset them. And here, the body control module, we have more control circuits, low voltage. So we're just going to erase them all. We shall go to live data. We'll start it up. And we'll start analyzing the live data. We're going to look at the transmission data. Remember, it's all color coded. It's all black. These are all within normal specifications, some engine data. Everything looks pretty good. You can see the misfires. They're all zeros. It's not misfiring at all. See the NOx sensors. There's no NOx detected on any of the 8 cylinders. And the cam doesn't have any excessive wear. He's taking care of this thing, so let's take it for a spin. So here we go to the dangerous counter. Now wait till everybody gets out of the way, and it's lunchtime, so they're all going to be headed to a restaurant. So we shall wait, but it's idling smooth. You can see you can level anything you're pulling. It's a pretty well set up truck. And hey, 182,000 miles so far. It's running pretty good for that kind of mileage. All right, we have room. Let's see what this V8 can do. And yes, it can do things. Listen to that engine. Nothing sounds like a V8 engine. Still runs perfectly fine. Now, you wouldn't get 21.5 miles a gallon driving like that, but hey, you do if you're going 65 on a highway. So we'll take a little swing down the road by the beach. It's even got the swanky turn signals on the side view mirror. Look at that. In case you forget what you're doing, I guess. Oh yeah, I'm turning over there. Considering he's pulled trailers all over the country and stuff with it, it still runs this good. Doesn't burn any oil. Hey, it's just something about the GMCs versus the Chevys. I really don't know what it is. Very similar, but there's just something about the GMCs. They seem to hold up better. And it has a butt cooler. He turned it on. I can feel my butt getting cool already. And it's still working too. Track's fine, no wheel bearing noises. And interestingly, no rear end noise. Now he takes care of it and changes the fluids and stuff. But almost all of the GM 1500 Silverados I see end up having rear differential problems because they're made in Mexico and they didn't do a good job building them. But for some reason, this is 182,000 miles and there's not a sound coming out of that differential. Well, none of those stupid communication codes came back. 182,000 miles. He's the original owner. Doesn't burn oil. Got 21.5 miles a gallon. Bring it here. And strangely enough, pulling this trailer, he was getting 20 miles a gallon. Hey, just remember, it says GMC. I would never tell somebody to buy a Silverado, any late model ones. They stopped making good ones, maybe 2003 or 4 or 5. But I have a lot of customers that have the GMCs that are totally happy with them. Go figure. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.